Hey guys, Patriot here with you. You can see I've prepared a little bit of 3/8 inch rebar, and I've got two different corrosion inhibitors. One is break-free CLP, the other is this new WD-40 Specialist. It's called long-term corrosion inhibitor. It's a little bit pricey, but I thought that I'd give it a try. Now originally I was going to test it against just standard WD-40, but I thought CLP has traditionally been known as one of the better rust preventers or rust inhibitors, and so I thought I'd put it up against something that would give it a run for its money. Now I know that there's other good corrosion inhibitors out there, but I thought that I'd start with CLP because it's so well known, and we'll see how the new WD-40 does. At about $10 a bottle or $10 a can, it's a little bit pricey, so hopefully it performs up to its price point. Okay, now this 3/8 inch rebar has been cleaned with Coleman gas, which just really leaves a very naked finish on it. I've brushed off any surface rust that was on there, and I'm handling everything now with pliers so I'm not getting my gloves or my fingers on it. So let's give this a good coating here with this WD-40 corrosion inhibitor. Okay, we'll set this over on the left side. Now let's do sample number 2. Okay, looks completely coated. Okay, just wanted to show you this isn't old CLP that's been sitting on the shelf for a while. It's got a seal on the top, so we'll take that off. This was bought fresh from the local firearms store. Okay, we're just going to put a little CLP on here. Dripping off a little bit, it's no big deal. I've got a brush. A sterile brush. This came right out of the package, and we're going to coat this completely with the CLP, even the ends. I'm going to put this on the right side. It's shellacked on there pretty thick, but I noticed that the WD-40 spray went on pretty thick as well. There's probably going to be some variation in the amount of inhibitor that I put on this rebar, but I've tried to keep it as equal as possible. Okay, it's completely coated with CLP. Okay, what you're looking at here is a plastic 5 or 6 gallon bucket. And I've got a naked piece of 3/8 inch rebar sitting down in a brine saltwater solution. The reason it's sitting in gravel is because the evaporation here is so fast in Arizona that if I just, put it in water, it won't have time to oxidize. So I'm going to take my other control, or I'm sorry, that's the control that's in here. This is the sample with WD-40. Let me clean off the pliers with some Coleman gas here. Okay. Here's the other sample with CLP on it. Just going to touch it into the water a little bit, just so the water comes up to the top of each piece of rebar, and the rest will be submerged in the gravel. I don't want to move them around too much because I don't want to scrape the coating off. So remember, we've got CLP on this side, control in the middle, and over on the left is the WD-40 corrosion inhibitor. Okay, and what we're going to do with these other two, let me zoom out a little bit here. I've got some briny saltwater solution that I've put inside of a 409 bottle, and I'm just going to spray these. And I'm just going to come out here and reapply that 3 squirts of salt water about every 20 minutes to a half an hour here. We might have to carry this on into future days, but we'll see how this works out. And I almost forgot our control. That was the naked piece of rebar right here. Stick that in the middle. I don't know how I forgot that. Okay, so again, I'll be reapplying that salt brine as often as possible. Well guys, I decided to bring this in here on the desktop just to kind of tie my thoughts together and where we're going with this whole test. This is obviously going to take either days or weeks to complete, so I thought I'd do a part 1 and then I'd show or produce a part 2 and kind of talk on that after the results are in. As you can see here, we've got a variety of tools and toys, and whether it's fishing reels, firearms, knives. Now depending on the materials or the finishes of our gadgets, some are more prone to rust than others. This Natchez Bowie, for example, is not a very rust prone knife. Even this buck hoodlum here has a good powder coat type of finish on it. The only thing prone to rust is the bare edge. And another carbon steel knife like this one, where the epoxy has been removed, you can see there's actually a little bit of surface rust starting there that I need to take care of. And this sat for a couple days in a slightly damp backpack in its sheath, so it can really happen pretty easily, even in a dry climate. And to touch on an earlier thought, or where I was going before, it's not here in your castle, in your place, or in your workshop that you typically have a lot of problems with these. I guess back east it's a different thing, or up in the wetter climates. But for me, it's when I venture out. It's when I take my tools up hunting and the toolbox gets rained on. It's when I throw a wet jacket in the back of my vehicle and it lands on some of my tools or equipment, or gets something else wet. So obviously rust corrosion's a pretty big topic, and that's why there's so many different available products to help us mitigate that. As I stated earlier, I was originally going to compare a standard WD-40 formula to the WD-40 Specialist. There's 3 different types of Specialist WD-40. This one is the long-term corrosion inhibitor, or what I'll just call LTCI, so I don't have to keep saying it over and over. But I wanted to compare these two. Well, undoubtedly, I'm guessing that this LTCI performs quite a bit better than this. I kind of use this as just a quick go-to. It's an inexpensive lubrication and gives a fair amount of protection. But compared to what we have available to us today, WD-40 is definitely not at the top of the list when it comes to corrosion protection. Break-free CLP, on the other hand, has been kind of a mainstay product probably about for the last 3 decades or so. It was one of the first lubricants, I think, that passed the military's PD-48 requirement, or Papa Delta 48. You can go look that up. And which later became, I think in the early 80s or late 70s, the mil-spec 63, or I think it's L63460 specification. But it's obviously very good as a cleaner, lubricant, and preservative. What we're specifically testing here, or what I'm trying to do, is test the corrosion resistance. And no matter where you look and research different websites, whether it's firearms, tools, the CLP comes out in the top 2 or 3 preservatives in every single test. So that's why I wanted to put this new WD-40 up against this, because this isn't a mainstay. Now I know that there's some newer products out there, some various synthetics. There's Frog Lube. There's also the Ezox or Ezox. I'm not sure how it's pronounced. It's EEZOX, and I don't have any of that. There's the Bullfrog, Frog Lube, and there's a whole variety of newer CLPs out there. I don't have those to test. I don't have the time or the resources to test all of those, but this is a mainstay. This is proven. This has been around for decades now, and that's why I'm putting this up against this. So we'll see how it does. Now I know as a fellow gear junkie that you guys enjoy looking at this stuff, so I'm just going to do the eye candy pan here and try to talk to you guys at the same time. So evidently this test is going to take a while. You know, we do have the dry climate here, so any effects on that rebar are not going to happen quickly. I've been out there about every 20 minutes or half an hour, just respraying the rebar in the open air and kind of looking at some of the first effects of the other rebar sitting down inside of the salt water. And I just went with a sea salt solution. I'm not a chemist. I suspect that using sea salt is going to be okay, but I don't know. If I don't see results here in the next 48 hours, then I'll know that something probably isn't right, and I'll look into it a bit further. But in any case, it's probably going to take a few days, and so that's why I decided to split this up into a two-part video, and just want to kind of dial in and tell you what my thoughts are as we kind of progress through this test together. So hopefully in about 5 to 7 days we'll have the final results of the corrosion resistance test, and I'll post that video along with the rebar. So that's about it for now, guys. Thanks for watching. Pumping out some videos here. Catch you later. Patriot out.